everyone. Thank you for joining us for our weekly podcast, Facebook Live, whatever you want to call it. It's a way for us at Audra Heller and Associates to share information on what's going on in our community, what's going on in the real estate world, tips on home ownership, and all sorts of different things. We have some great guest speakers lined up on some nonprofit organizations that have a special place in my heart. We have Feed Northland Kids coming up, and another one about Level Up, which is another nonprofit that helps children who do not have dental insurance and things like that. So if they're in need of dental care, orthodontic care, all of that. So you'll hear more about those and our marketing towards those organizations and our podcasts that we do with them, I believe in September and October. But today we have a special guest. We would like you to meet Saul Kittelson. Saul is with a company called Prime Lending and the Fleming Group. He has done a ton of work for several hundreds clients of ours, and wanted him to kind of give us an update on the rates and what's going on in the market. What are we going to see? So, Saul, for those of our guests who have not met you in person or seen one of our previous podcasts, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you are a Nebraska boy, but live here in Kansas City. Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me on today. As Audra said, have had the great opportunity to get to know Audra and her team and work with so many of her clients, and goodness sakes, best real estate team around. Love you guys and appreciate all you do for your clients. I'm a Nebraska native who moved to the Kansas City area, way back in 2006. And in my former life was a teacher and a high school football coach here in the Metro. And through those connections, made some great friendships, one of which was with and is with Scott Fleming, hence the name of our mortgage team, the Fleming Group, who 9 years ago convinced me that I needed to make a change career-wise. He presented me some options for getting into the mortgage industry and partnering with him and learning from him and his expertise. And fast forward 9 years, we've created the Fleming Group and have a team of additional loan officers and an operations staff with processors and a transaction coordinator, and have a wonderful niche here in the Kansas City market where we call home. From a family perspective, I'm a fortunate guy. I've got a beautiful wife and 3 kids, have an 8th grader who's in the midst of his 8th grade football season, and I get to help coach with that. And then I have twin 5-year-olds who just started kindergarten and, go every which direction at all times. So we're busy and we're running, and Kansas City's home. This is where we're at. And while we have the ability to lend nationwide, and we certainly do, the primary focus for us is our clients right here at home.
Excellent. Well, thank you. I have to say, over the years, we've worked with several different lenders all over the country. And one of the things that I really admire about you and your team is just the communication and education. And part of the reason why we do these podcasts purely are to educate, just to provide information out there, because the national television, what they're showing may not be exactly what's going on here in Kansas City. So thank you for joining. Thank you for always coming in from an education background of really finding out what the client's needs are, which are critical. So when people are buying a home, refinancing, it is so easy to just go on your computer, punch in your numbers, and have somebody send you stuff. But when you get into the negotiation of a contract and purchasing a home, it is critical that myself or my team as an agent can pick up the phone and call you. Hey, we need you to do this. We need you to do this. Where are we on this? Are they really pre-approved? Is it this? Is it that? So there are several steps involved in buying a home, and it's critical to make sure you team up with someone that is going to have your best interest put first, rather than their interest of hitting a quota number. So you definitely get that with Saul's services. Saul, I have some fun facts that I'm going to quiz you today. Has nothing to do with loans, but it has to do with real estate. So, I know you obviously help several clients in buying homes, and friends and family talking. The market has shifted a little bit, which is fine. It's more of normalizing in our market. But I had somebody approach me the other day. Well, this house should sell in a day. just for fun, Saul, in Kansas City, do you know kind of the ballpark of average of days on market for a house?
Oh, well, I have a feeling you're going to ask me, and it's going to be a little bit of a quiz. So let's see how close I can get on these.
Awesome. Well, I kind of broke it down for school districts because I often find a lot of people look or they're familiar with where they live in their school district. So since you live in the Liberty School District, I'm going to start with that area. Do you have any idea? Let's say a house is 300 to 500,000 currently listed. How many days on market do you think the average is right now? And this is no, we're in August still, August the 29th.
Liberty Schools, 300 to 500,000. I would guess on market 12 days.
Okay. Well, guess what? In the last 90 days, you were pretty close. It was 13 days, but right now it's 21 days. So they've added an extra week. So if you're going to sell your home, please don't panic if it doesn't sell in a day. It is price or patience, and it depends on the market and activity and number of homes. Park Hill School District. What do you think average days on market are for a $300,000 to $500,000 home? And by the way, I forgot to disclose, this does not include any new construction. This is all resales because I wanted to share with people what a resale might be.
Yeah, perfect. Well, since I was short on my previous guess, let's maybe try it 20 days in the Park Hill School District.
Okay, so the properties that have sold in the last 3 months were average days on market 12 days. So 1 day less than Liberty. However, the homes that are currently for sale, 43 days on market. So what that means are two things. One, slowing down a little bit, typically does during August anyway, because it's going back to school, or people are high pricing their homes as if it were March and April and May, and it's not anymore. So you have to do a price adjustment for the market slowing down if you want to sell your home quicker. So 43 days on the market for a $300,000 to $500,000 home. I want all of our viewers to know that still is a seller's market. So we just may not be able to go in and anticipate 50,000 over asking price, things like that we had seen. Just for some more information, I just thought I would share real quick. Lee Summit, we do sell quite a few homes in the Lee Summit area. They are 48 days on the market. And Blue Valley, what would you guess for Blue Valley? Blue Valley, that's Overland Park. Everyone thinks, oh, they sell a lot quicker. What do you think? Days on market.
Oh, goodness. Let's stay right around that 20 days on the market number.
Okay, it's 31. So who would have thought the Blue Valley School District, 31 days on the market. In the past 90 days, the average was 8.
A little bit of a shift there.
Yeah. So again, we always tell people we're still in a seller's market. There are still buyers out there. You just cannot be expecting as is, over asking price. And when you list your home, it better be show ready, professional pictures, and all the things that we do for our clients, staging and all of that. That all plays into selling your home. So now let's get into your stuff. I just want to play that fun little game because I thought it was interesting. So thanks for participating. Talk to me about what's going on. We get a lot of people asking us interest rates. Saul, are we going to see them back in the 2s or the 3s again?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you want to talk about the hot topic in the financial markets over the course of the last year and a half, and it's been rates, right? We saw this run up in rates. We have this verbiage and this commitment from the Fed to make some changes with the economy, and a lot of it's been based on monetary lending and interest rates, right? We've seen them shoot up. There's no hiding behind that or trying to sugarcoat it. And they've stayed really consistent with their approach to this, you know, that the higher for longer with rates, they want to get inflation back down around that 2% handle, and they're committed to that. So your question, do we see rates back in the 2s and the 3s? Magic crystal ball, if I were to shake it and ask, I think it would probably lean towards maybe not. You know, those 2s and 3s were historically low mortgage rates for 15, 20, and 30-year scenarios. Historically, that was the lowest they've ever been. And I don't know, honestly, if we see them back that low, certainly not anytime soon, if ever.
And that's what we're hearing a lot. And I think sometimes you get caught up correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we drop a lot of those rates mainly because of COVID or partially because of COVID and keeping the economy going and things like that? Hasn't it been just since post-COVID or COVID on that they dropped
Yeah,
that low?
correct. Yeah, it was a manipulation, I guess, is maybe a term you could use of the markets to allow for rates to get to those levels. They had never been that low. I had started the industry in 2014, and rates in the fours and the fives and at various points into the low sixes were what we had become accustomed to in my career that spanned almost a decade in mortgage lending. So when we hit into those twos and we got into those twos and threes, that was a little unprecedented.
Well, my first loan in 1996 or 7, I can't remember what year it was. I think I was playing around 10 or 11%. So it's they have been, okay, I just dated myself. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, they go down, and I know you're just the messenger, and I just want to remind people, Saul is just being the messenger of the information he's sharing. And this is what I've heard from a lot of other people is we probably won't see 2 to 3%. Again, you're more in the loan business than I am. And I just wanted your reassurance or confirmation that that's what you're hearing from your experts with prime lending and the Fleming group and things like that. So, yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, talk to me. Sometimes people, and I think I go back to like the car industry, you'll go buy a new car and they're like, well, what do you want your payments at? And I think sometimes people get caught up in payments and interest rates and don't look at the whole big picture. Number one, if rates drop, you can always refinance, and you can always refinance those expenses into your loan. Is that correct for the most part, Saul? If somebody
Yes,
wanted to?
correct. So assuming that your loan to value allows for it, you can have your new loan absorb any loan costs that you might incur, so that, in some scenarios, people they refinance with no out of pocket expense because they have built that per se into their loan.
Yeah. So talk to me, just because sometimes when I'm visiting with people, sometimes you need to look at your budget. Maybe it's cutting back and going out to eat. Maybe it's doing a local vacation instead of the full 5-star out of town, all inclusive. Homes typically do appreciate. It is a good investment. They talk about stocks and bonds and, the stock market and then the real estate market. It's because it is a good investment long term. So a lot of times you think in Saul, and we look of, man, it's gone up to 7%. Well, what is that? Is that $1,000 difference in my payment? Walk me through, if you don't mind. If I'm buying a home, let's say I want to get a loan for $300,000. If I'm getting a loan for $300,000, so obviously depending on if I'm putting a percentage down or maybe I'm financing 100% of it or a little bit. But long story short, if a loan amount is $300,000, talk to me, what's the difference in the rates? We're in the 6s and 7s recently, or the numbers that we've been hearing. What would that mean per month?
Yeah. So, and you're exactly right, Audra. An approach we take with every client is scheduling a meeting, most of the time face to face, and really having these financial questions laid out on the table, right? Because every client's wants and needs are different. And there are truly some misconceptions. It's not Rocket Mortgage did everyone a disservice when they said push button, get mortgage, because it's not a one size fits all approach. And every client has different wants and needs, different budgets, where they're comfortable having a monthly payment based on their other liabilities that they're responsible for, knowing what their employment status looks like going forward, if there's raises on the horizon or promotions, if they have kids going to college sooner than later and additional expenses. So we take that deep dive. And my question first to clients always centers around, budget wise, where do you want your payment to be? And you're exactly right. With a $300,000 loan amount, looking at different interest rates, it's going to have an impact on your payment. So currently, let's say rates are kind of in that 7.5% range. And on a $300,000 loan with a 7.5% interest rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage, the principal and interest payment for that is just under $2,100 a month. So taxes, insurance, any PMI potentially not included, the mortgage portion of that mortgage payment right about $2,100. for a
So,
rate. Oh, go ahead.
so I was just gonna say, for 2,100, I mean, for $300,000 loan, you can get a nice 3-bedroom home. And can you even rent anything for 2,100 anymore? I mean, to have a
Yeah,
house.
I've been out of the renters market for a while. I think you hit the nail on the head. Home ownership can lead to wealth generation, and it should be part of people's financial planning forecast, right? You
Yeah.
buy, your home appreciates, you roll that sale of those proceeds into a purchase of a new one, right? And we see that all the time in our industry. But yeah, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a home of that quality that you can rent for $2,000 a month.
So tell me so rates drop down maybe like 1%. So what would it be like, around 6.5%?
Yeah.
Like, what would that be?
$300,000 loan amount, principal and interest, you're just shy of $1,900 a month. So
Okay.
you're looking at about a $200 a month savings between a rate of 7.5%, which is where we're at roughly currently based on borrower's profile, and a rate at 6.5%.
Wow. So again, it's looking at your expenses and where you're spending money. I don't know if you've gone out to eat lately, but even at Chick-fil-A, it's like $50 for a family of 4. So that can add up. Once a week going out to eat Chick-fil-A could save you the difference in the more interest rate. And so again, have something that you're building equity with.
Yeah,
Awesome.
exactly. And these are such great conversations we have in these client meetings, because when people examine their budgets and determine what they really want, yeah, that $200 a month difference between those rate scenarios, it is a large amount. I'm not going to pretend like $200 a month isn't a substantial figure. But as you noted, if your goal is home ownership, and that $300,000 loan amount is something that you qualify for, and it provides you the home that you want, that your team's going to help them find, then there's probably ways to trim budgets to allow for that.
Tell me what a 4.5% interest rate would be. So we have seen 4.5s in the last 24 months. What would that be?
Yeah, that gets you down closer to that $1,500 month amount, principal and interest. So between the top end at 7.5%, you're at a roughly $2,000 a month. That 4.5% is roughly $1,500 a month. So about a $500 a month difference.
So $500 a month. I want to equate this and maybe phrase it a different way. So potentially a $500 a month difference. Let's add that up over a year. That's about $6,000 a year difference. What I want our guests to remember is $6,000 in the big scheme of things over a $300,000 home. We were seeing $300,000 homes selling for over $50,000 over ask. So what you want to take advantage of now is to getting into the home that you want by not paying over $50,000. We're not seeing that. The days on market are longer. You now have the ability to negotiate. So that's some of the big differences in the market. Everything modifies and moves, but sometimes it moves in better ways, and you have to look at it at a different mindset. Right now, you can negotiate inspections. Right now, you don't have to take the house as is. You don't have to pay $50,000 over asking price. Depending on the home and location, you might go in at full price. We've recently had some clients close on some homes that we went under asking price. Under asking price. Like, when have you heard that? Not lately. So, and that's just showing a shift in the market of everything. It all will fluctuate. So it's looking at the big picture, not, oh my God, it's $500 a month. Yeah.
You're exactly right. Silver lining, Audra, and you just nailed it. With the increase in rates, it has pushed some buyers to the sideline. They're not comfortable. They don't qualify, whatever it is. And that allows those who are still in the market to purchase greater opportunities to do exactly what you just mentioned, the things that you and your team do well. You advise on what kind of price to offer for their purchase. You advise through potentially negotiating seller paid closing costs or after inspection repairs and all those different things that for the last couple years weren't part of the home buying process. Buyers were getting somewhat the short end of the stick because they were having to concede their negotiating power, and that's changed. And you just hit it. We've seen that here in our market. We've seen it nationwide. I think we're going to talk more about it a little bit with some of these temp buy downs. I know I'm stealing your thunder on some of the upcoming questions, but buyers have more opportunity now to negotiate than they have had in the last, 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah, I'm going to say definitely in the last 3 years, look, we haven't been able to ask for home warranties or closing costs for a buyer. So, the market fluctuates and changes. Tell me, kind of getting into that. So obviously we both work mainly in the Kansas City area. I have resources throughout the United States, as do you. What are some of the things that you're hearing nationwide of going on, maybe in some of your different market centers that Prime Lending has? Any stories or things that you can share with us?
Yeah, well, I think along those same lines, if we spin back to interest rates and why we're seeing a little bit of an inventory issue, or why we're seeing a lot of bit of an inventory issue, is a statistic that over 90% of homeowners currently have interest rates below 5%.
Did you say 90, like 90?
9 out of every 10 homeowners currently have an interest rate on their mortgage loan that is at 5% or less. So there's hesitation for those folks, and we're seeing it. We're not seeing the resale market volume that we typically have because those people are hesitant. They're hesitant to give up that rate to buy a home with home prices that have appreciated and continue to go up. So what we're seeing a little bit in Kansas City, we're seeing it more and more, but certainly nationwide, are incentives, especially with builders, for buyers. Concessions that can be applied towards temporary rate buy downs, that can be applied towards finishing upgrades in these homes, that can be applied towards just standard closing costs to reduce a buyer's out-of-pocket expenses.
And
two different.
I was gonna say, we haven't seen that in a while. On our new construction, like, they're gonna give you a price. When they're able to get it done, that's when it gets done, and that's the price. And we haven't been able to negotiate anything with new construction. I've seen a couple local builders that have been sending out a couple emails here and there. Hey, agent bonus. Again, I'm already getting paid. Reduce the price of the house for my client, those things. So yeah.
Yeah, just for an example, I have a client who recently closed in Texas, in the Houston area. It was a resale. It was not new construction, but their market's shifted and is a little bit different than ours. And they were able to negotiate $15,000 in seller concession. And with those $15,000, we were able to complete a temporary interest rate buy down. In their first year of home ownership with this property, the interest rate is 2% lower than the fully adjusted rate. So say fully adjusted rate for them is 7.5. Year one, their payment structure is based on an interest rate of 5.5%. Year two, it jumps to 6.5%. If it fully adjusts starting year 3 of their payments, it goes to 7.5%. And that cost is subsidized via the builder or the seller credit in this scenario, the seller credit. And every month that payment difference is applied towards that mortgage payment.
So they can still go to Chick-fil-A and have dinner, right?
They can. And again, while there's no crystal ball, there are forecasts from both Mortgage Bankers Association, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac that point towards lower rates on the horizon. Now they're looking, mid 2024, quarter 2, quarter 3, that we see any sizable movement. But these buyers have the anticipation maybe that rates drop, but also that next year at this time, they'll both have promotions within their jobs. Yes. To where even if and when, their payments do go up with this temporary buy down, they're comfortable. We analyzed their budget. We talked about their future. I know their plans. They know their goals, and we were able to set up their mortgage to meet those goals.
That's awesome. And I like that. I've talked to a couple of our clients that have done the buy down here in Kansas City, and they said, you know what, we were nervous because we were upsizing our mortgage, we're upsizing our lifestyle and our home, but we still had some of these baseline expenses, from kids' sports to school to, all right, we have a 16-year-old, we got to pay for a car and insurance. but it helped them budget and lock in, okay, our first year, we're not exactly sure how much our utilities are going to go up. And while that's, you know, a little thing, everything always adds up. And I was just talking to one client, she's like, all right, we're in our second year, it's gone up a little bit, we're doing okay. But it just helps the shock of it all. And they were able to budget accordingly to include the car for the 16-year-old and sports and things and their lifestyle. So it helped, and they just had that, able to get their dream home that they had really been working towards, and happy, and they really love that program. So I love the buy down. It creates options, and that's one thing that I like, that, you know, again, you sit down with people and kind of look at their goals of what's the best, and here are different options. It's not, here's the square peg and you're going to go on the square peg if this is our program and this is it, whether you fit it or not. You customize it for the client.
Absolutely. And I think that's why my team and your team align so well. You take the same approach.
Yes.
It's customer centric. It's roll up your sleeves, give the client what they want. Once I know your goals and we can sit down and evaluate what you want, we're going to strategize a way to help you meet and exceed what you're hoping to do with your mortgage and your home buying process.
Excellent. Well, Saul, I really appreciate you coming. I wouldn't mind maybe us looking at the books and maybe doing something maybe the end of December or beginning of January to kind of look at a year in review. I am curious next time we talk of what's 2024 going to look like with the presidential election. How is that going to impact the housing market and interest rates? So make notes. Those will be my next questions for you. But in between now and then, is there anything else you would like to share going on in the world of loans and interest rates and all that fun stuff?
Nothing, you know, that comes off the top of my head. I think coming from a position of value, we want to be educators. We truly feel that if a client is educated and confident in their options and comfortable with what the process looks like, they can find success in this market. And I know that you preach the same thing to your folks, and we're always going to provide that to your clients going forward.
Perfect. We appreciate you. Again, if anyone has specific questions, the best way is to reach out to Saul. Saul, give us, what's the best way? Obviously, I see your phone number up there. Is that your office number or cell phone?
Cell phone, obviously my work email, reach out, text, call, drop me a line. Random questions. If you're in the process and want to review scenarios, if you're on the fence and have that fear and anxiety, we're here to advise. We're here to educate. We're here to guide, and would love to talk.
Excellent. Saul Kittelson with the Fleming Group at Prime Lending. Thank you and have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, Miss Audra. See y'all.
Bye.